Steam, this is Lewis Hamilton, $1 Billion Man.
At the start of this year, only hardcore motor racing fans had heard of Lewis Hamilton, and yet now the 22-year-old is on his way to becoming the most famous British sports star of all time.
He has a face, an attitude, a style and a talent that the sponsors love, and he's British. And let's be patriotic about this. It's great, isn't it?
It's his first season. He's the rookie amongst the Formula One big boys, and he's smashing absolutely every record in sight.
He's a smiley face. He's at the top of the world's most ruthless sport, and he is just as ruthless as any other.
As a result of his stunning success, millions of us have gone Formula One mad.
Everybody's talking about Lewis Hamilton. Everyone wants to talk to me about Lewis Hamilton. I want to talk to them about Lewis Hamilton.
He's my new hero. He really is. He's a hero for loads of people.
I feel so passionate about his story, his progression and the impact he's made on Formula One.
Tonight, I'm going to find out how an ordinary lad from Stevenage turned into our new national hero. It might seem that Lewis has only just burst onto the scene, but in fact, the BBC has been tracking his rise since he was just 7 years old.
How long have you been racing cars for already, Lewis?
About a year.
Is it easy to do?
No.
Tonight, you'll see Lewis Hamilton as you've never seen him before.
Recognise me now?
So sit back and enjoy the ride as we ask, how did a boy from the other side of the track become the fastest man on it? Who's behind his incredible success so far? And can Lewis Hamilton really become Britain's first $1 billion sports star? Formula One is the most glamorous sport on earth and the playground for millionaires. The season lasts from March to October and takes in some of the world's most exotic locations. For those at the top of the tree, it's 220 miles an hour and a £20 million pay packet. Welcome to the world of Formula One and its newest superstar, Lewis Hamilton.
We like winners. We like someone with a little bit of an edge. We like someone that's got themselves together. And we like glitz and glamour. And it doesn't get any better than motorsport and F1. So that's why Lewis Hamilton is so popular. But above all else, and I think the thing to remember, he is very, very good at what he does.
Lewis Hamilton was car mad even as a child. When he was just 7 years old, his brilliance with remote control racing cars brought him to the attention of the BBC, who invited him to take on John Leslie in the famous Blue Peter Garden.
Cars like these are getting ready to compete on the World Championship. Someone who's preparing for those very same championships is Lewis Hamilton, who's only 7 years old. How long have you been racing cars for already, Lewis?
About a year.
So you must be pretty good at it. Is it easy to do?
No.
What do you have to do then?
This is the brake.
That's the brake. Oh, you need the brake.
And these are the steering.
That's your steering wheel, right and left. Okay, now, do you think I'll be able to have a go?
Yeah.
You sure? Well, they're under starters orders for the Blue Peter Mini Grand Prix. 3, 2, 1, go! And I'm last already. Hope you like to do that. Move back to the track. I'm going to be last. Opus, drop back on. And tell us to hold the all this time. And we have a winner! Who won the race? Lewis, well done. Congratulations. Well managed, your man, still eat your heart out. The radio-controlled modern car racers are hot on your heels.
Even though he was only 7, Lewis was clearly showing signs of things to come. We decided to analyse his actions by taking this footage to body language expert Judy James to attempt to find out what made this boy tick. So this is Lewis when he's 7 years old on Blue Peter with John Leslie.
I have to say that his body language here is extraordinary. Look at his eye focus. He's not remotely distracted. Now, he's got hyperactive John Leslie doing the Blue Peter thing next to him, being all bouncy and noisy. He doesn't look away once, and I think that's deeply important because for a 7-year-old, you would be looking at this noisy man standing next to you. But his eye gaze is extremely intense. He doesn't move from the car. The only glance that he gives John Leslie is when John Leslie says, "Could I do that?" And he almost gives him a scathing look, as I just say. And I think, again, what's interesting here, John Leslie's playing the child. And what we've got is Lewis Hamilton acting like a very adult, small person. So they've almost exchanged roles.
And we have a winner!
The other thing that's interesting is the gesture when he wins. Now, this is the only time he kind of bursts out and he punches the air in a victory gesture. Even that's quite controlled, but it's also extremely important. And what we're really seeing with him on this clip at 7-year-old is at least 3 things that would be vital for him at the age he's at now. One is the ability to have this eagle-eyed focus. The other one is to have this sense of calm and lack of distraction, but also to have the ability to really do an alpha signalling when he wins, because that motivates him. That will stay in his mind. That feeling of celebrating the win rather than being modest will actually motivate him to win more and more times.
Lewis Hamilton was born and bred in Stevenage, an unremarkable town half an hour north of London. It's also the hometown of BBC's F1 commentator David Croft. So does everyone in Stevenage have a Lewis Hamilton story?
You think so? I think
A man who spends most of his time in places like Monte Carlo, Tokyo and Melbourne on the ultra-glamorous Formula One circuit. So where do I get to meet him? Yep, a greasy spoon slap bang in the middle of Stevenage bus station.
I'm proud to come from Stevenage, but it's not really famous for producing great sportsmen, great artists, great actors. I think Lewis is now putting it on the map, though. It's about time someone did.
He was born here?
He was born here, and he spent the earlier part of his life here in a little estate called Sheppel, over by Pear Tree and Fairlands Valley.
Is that a nice area? Or?
It's not the best area.
No.
It's just a normal council estate in Stevenage. It wasn't that rough, it wasn't that brilliant. Lewis would have been going to school as a normal kid, would have been playing football. He was being bullied, I think, at one stage in his life, and took up karate as a way of getting one up on the bullies, and very soon became a black belt. Shows you his competitive nature once again.
Is it pretty unusual to have perhaps a slightly underprivileged background?
Well, in Formula One especially, you need an awful lot of money to get into Formula One, or you need someone like McLaren to sign you up and to sponsor you from an early age.
Up until now, if you wanted to make it in Formula One, it's fair enough to say you'd need to be 3 things: male, rich and white. Perhaps that's another reason why Lewis has attracted so much attention from around the world. He's male, all right, but he grew up without any privilege, and he's black. Why do you think there aren't more black drivers in F1?
It's like, why aren't there more black tennis players? Why aren't there more black golfers? It's very much a middle-class sport. It's not a sport you think you're going to get into, It's no wonder Lewis is based in Hertfordshire, not London, because I couldn't see him getting into it in London. Black guys like basic sports like football, maybe a bit of cricket, something that you can play, anybody can play, and working class sports, to be honest.
So it's not something to do with F1 and maybe a prejudice that's intrinsic with the sport?
I don't know. I don't think. Let's face it. Look at the history of Formula One. How many black drivers have there ever been? None that I have known of. So why would they go in search of a black racing driver? So I don't know if the sport's prejudiced. I just think it's a question of who's coming up in the ranks, who they see, the pool of drivers they choose from. Lewis happened to be dedicated to karting from a young age, so he made a name for himself at a very young age.
Lewis's skin colour and the fact that he encountered racial abuse at a young age was the subject of a report for a BBC series that examined elements of black culture in Britain.
Earlier this year, golfer Tiger Woods made sporting history by becoming the first black man to win the US Masters. Now, schoolboy Lewis Hamilton has a driving ambition to become the first black champion in a less sedate sport.
It didn't take the young Lewis long to work out that he was just a little bit different from other drivers in his group.
In the past years I've had racist names being called to me. The first time it happened, I felt really upset. I told my mum and dad, and I felt like I needed to get revenge on them. But lately, if anybody had said anything to me, I'd just ignore them and get them back on the track.
Without doubt, the driving force behind Lewis's incredible career to date is his father, Anthony. He named his firstborn after the iconic American athlete, Carl Lewis. Clearly, Anthony believed his son was destined for greatness.
You need to have an angle that people are interested in. And obviously, as the only black youngster in racing at the moment, I wouldn't be adverse to using Lewis's colour as a means to getting on, but to be honest, I don't feel I have to do that. We don't get involved with people who have problems about whether we win or what colour we are or whatever the issue might be for them. The fact is that, we're here to race, and so, we go out on the track and we do our best.
Frankly, the novelty of the colour of Lewis's skin had worn off by the time he reached the first corner of the first lap in his first Grand Prix. Then we knew he was a driver, not just a person in mixed race.
I firmly believe that Lewis, as a role model, as a way of inspiring particularly young black kids to feel good about themselves and to relate to him, I think it's absolutely going to happen.
Things will never be the same.
From Lewis's very early days, his father Anthony claims to have spotted amazing hand-eye coordination in his son. It's a gift that he's helped nurture over 15 years, and now they're both reaping the benefits at the very highest level of the sport.
If he set his mind on becoming a Formula 1 driver, I'm certain he'll get there, because he is displaying all the traits needed to be, a successful person. He's disciplined, comes home, does his homework, behaves himself. He's like model to me at the moment.
Back in Lewis's early days, Dad and son would literally spend every weekend going to karting events across the country. It was an expensive pastime for a family with few resources, and Anthony really struggled to get the cash together to keep the dream alive. Lewis's very first kart set him back £1,000.
It took me a long time to get that £1,000, and after his first race, I knew I was in trouble and needed more money, so I then picked up some odd jobs. One of them was dishwashing, and one of them was putting up signboards for a local estate agent, which didn't pay much, but it all helped.
Anthony is a very, very strong and very quiet person. He impresses everybody in Formula One because nobody's ever really met anybody quite like him. Given his sort of background, and he took on several extra jobs to pay for Lewis's karting, and you can tell there's a real closeness there between father and son, which is very, very impressive. I've got two sons, and my oldest son is 6, and already he won't listen to me. So how Anthony's managed to keep Lewis listening to him to the age of 22, I don't know. Maybe I should get some tips off him.
Somebody said to me the other day at a Grand Prix that what's extraordinary about Anthony and Lewis Hamilton is that they're sick with ambition. And this was said to me as a criticism, how extraordinary, how awful that these people should be so ambitious. Well, all I can say about that is that Britain could do with a few more tennis players and a few more athletes and a few more cricketers maybe who are sick with ambition, who really know what they want and really know how to get it.
Lewis Hamilton's grandfather came to Britain from Grenada in the 1950s and became a driver on the London Underground. When Lewis was 2, his mum and dad split, and Anthony took a leading role in the upbringing of his son. Now the family unit comprises Dad Anthony, half-brother Nick, who suffers from cerebral palsy, and stepmom Linda.
He's a very easy child to look after. I mean, he tends to do his own thing, and he's a good guy.
But it's his dad Anthony who has clearly shaped Britain's newest sporting superstar. I caught up with him at a recent charity bash to raise money for Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital. Sorry to interrupt, guys. So, Anthony, Lewis is the man of the moment. How does that feel? You must be really, really proud.
Yeah, it's actually quite surreal, to be quite honest, but we're pleased and looking forward to the next race, see how Lewis gets on. I mean, it's difficult to find words to express what's happening other than Lewis has worked 14 years for what he's, for where he is at the moment and for what he's achieved, and I hope his success continues.
Is he enjoying himself, do you think?
Oh yeah, totally. And I think that's the key. He's having fun, Lewis, and when you see Lewis up on the podium, he's always got a smile on his face, hasn't he? When he's in the press conference, he's always got a smile on his face. And occasionally, you can't be happy all the time, but he's happy most of the time, and I think that makes a lot of difference.
Just incredible, his rise. It's the most amazing rookie there's ever been.
Well, I actually always thought it was going to happen. 14 years ago when we started, you've got to have a plan, and you've got to work to that plan, and you've got to have a focus. And Lewis has had that focus, and so have we as a family. And up until last year, I even knew that if Lewis got into a good seat, good things would happen. because he's that sort of person. He's a good person and he works hard. So I knew he wouldn't ever waste the opportunity.
What do you think about the comparisons people are making between him and Tiger Woods?
I think they're good comparisons to make. You know, Tiger Woods was good. You know, he's been good for golf. Lewis is, you know, in a different vein, but Lewis is hopefully going to be good for motorsport and for the world. You know, it's not a crusade that we're on, but Lewis is an ordinary person, and I think, you know, a lot of people can get inspiration and hope from him.
And Nick, is it? I've heard you're Lewis's biggest fan. How do you feel about everything he's going through at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. I mean, you know, I never knew this would happen so early, you know. So it's great to see Lewis doing so well, and I'm enjoying every moment of it.
What's he said to you about his success?
Lewis hasn't really said much to me at all, really.
Doesn't really, you know something? We don't talk about it really because it's, you know, we do the race, we go home and we get on with life. We very rarely ever go home and talk about motor racing.
Really? So it's not, it's keep it at work?
Just keep it at work. Yeah, go to work, come home, and then we get on with the normal life, and that's how it goes.
What is the normal life in the Hamilton household?
Probably the same as most people's normal households, you know. Once that door is shut, we put the TV on, put our feet up, watch TV, have a Sunday meal, that sort of thing.
Brilliant, thank you so much. Have a wicked night.
Yes, you take care.
By far the most recognised route to becoming a Formula One driver is through the ranks of junior karting. And just as he had with his radio-controlled cars, it wasn't long before Lewis Hamilton's exploits on the track were again attracting the attention of the BBC.
Followed Lewis on a typical weekend at the kart track. The young drivers race against each other in a number of heats, and the weekend culminates in a grand final.
We're being scrutinised at the moment. They're just checking to see if the kart's fine for the race. Now we're going to get weighed. The reason I want to be a Formula 1 driver is because it's got a lot of speed in it. When I saw the actual speed that they were doing, it was amazing because you don't actually think about it when you're watching TV, and my kart feels really powerful when I'm in it, but imagine being in the Formula 1 car. Must be very powerful. That.
Hamilton goes round the outside, just a few bends and he can hold on to it. Lewis!
In an early heat, Lewis could only manage 5th place. He felt that something was wrong with his kart. But when it came to explaining to his dad Anthony, it revealed quite a lot about their father-son relationship.
What was it gripping up?
He was filmed again for Blue Peter at the age of 12. What we're going to see is that he is a very bad loser. Now, you know, nobody can win everything, and it's interesting to see his response. He goes into a complete sulk. You see, his father has to face check him, so it's almost like the father's become the child as well. He's rather nervous of Lewis, I think. Motivational build-up that will make him win. I think we tend in the UK to kind of pretend it doesn't matter a little bit and act modest and, oh, you know, I lost, so what? But he hates it. He absolutely loathes it. I think he sees that it's demeaned his status a bit as well, saying it was his fault.
I'm obviously not doing something right, because the kart just doesn't look right out there. It just doesn't look right.
If you look at his body language here, slumped in the seat, these are animal signals for suppressed aggression, head scratching and things like that. And he also does a little tongue poke. That shows he's completely disgusted by what's just happened.
So after fine-tuning the kart, Lewis took his place on the grid for the grand final, cheered on as ever by brother Nick.
I've got a lot of friends in karting, but on the track they're not really my friends because I'm up to get them. But when I'm coming to corners out on the track, it all comes to me so quickly. I just brake as late as I can, take it as tight as I can, and hopefully come round it as quick as anybody else.
And all the hard work pays off yet again as Lewis blazes a trail to the checkered flag.
You never say die and never give up, and I think that's the reason why Lewis is always at the front and why he's a champion. When he finally crosses that finishing line, you know it's all over. Nothing else could happen. He's won, and it's just a fantastic feeling.
Got it right? Got it right.
The first time I sprayed a champagne bottle, I didn't know how to do it, and I just held the bottle and I didn't put my thumb over the top, and I was just shaking it and nothing was happening, and nobody told me what to do.
And while young Lewis was whizzing around the kart tracks of England, his old mates back on the estate in Stevenage were watching his progress with interest. And they were already becoming fans.
So what was he like when he was younger?
He was lovely, such a cute little boy, really polite and kind, and he loved his dad to bits. He used to come back from the weekends and say, oh, I did this with my dad, and took me go-karting and things. He was a lovely boy, really sweet. But he also was in my sister's class at Pear-Tree, and he used to sit next to her in the classroom.
Was there any romance between them?
I think they did get married when they were little, but I don't think that counts anymore.
Do you think he'll remember her?
I'm not sure. Hopefully he will, because we remember him and we've been following him ever since he sort of signed up and things. So,
are you surprised by his success, or did you see it coming?
Not really. He always said when he was younger that he was going to be a race car driver, and we were all like, yeah, right, you know, I'm going to be a pop star kind of thing. But he's done it, so we're not surprised at all, really.
Quite proud?
I am. I'm very. Every time I see him, I say, oh, I know him.
Lewis wasn't only pretty damn good at driving his kart and winning every trophy in sight, he knew exactly what he wanted and was fearless when it came to getting it. The Oscars of the motor racing world is the annual Autosport Awards. Back in 1995, when Lewis was just 10, he was picking up a junior karting award when he came across one of the most powerful men in motor racing, McLaren boss Ron Dennis.
When I met Ron Dennis, I asked for his autograph in my autograph book. I asked for him to put his address down and his phone number, and he wrote in the autograph book, phone me in 9 years and we'll sort something out then.
But in actual fact, Ron Dennis signed the young Lewis Hamilton just a few years later.
He's not yet old enough to drive down the street, but a 13-year-old schoolboy has already been signed up by the Formula One team McLaren. Lewis Hamilton has won 4 British go-karting championships. Now he says he wants to be world Formula One champion by the time he's 20.
The news that a 13-year-old schoolboy had been snapped up by the giant Formula One team McLaren was a very big deal indeed.
My ambition is to get to Formula One, definitely. I enjoy the speed. I like to be with all the big guys, and I like to be making lots of money.
In fact, at the time it was unheard of. But how had the Hamilton camp managed to pull off such an amazing stunt?
It's that steely determination, knowing that if you can't find the money on the backers, that the whole adventure is over. You know, it's not like kicking a football where, you know, you just need to get noticed. You just need to play football in a place where the important people will see you play football, and off you go. This is, you know, if you haven't got a competitive kart, they won't notice you either. And so you've got to put yourself in a position where you can maximise what you have to offer.
Pulling off the McLaren sponsorship deal so early in Lewis's fledgling career was a masterstroke. Dad Anthony was totally single-minded in just how important it was in the grand plan.
The affiliation with McLaren basically entails a 10-year contract for Lewis, where McLaren are providing Lewis with technical and financial support and assistance, and hopefully going to see him from kart racing through to Formula One.
With the sponsorship deal driving him on, Lewis won every kart championship there was to win. His reward? Yet another chance to star on Blue. So Lewis was already showing immense promise behind the wheel of his kart, with amazing control, speed and daring, as well as having the audacity to confront the big boss of the McLaren racing team. But he was still too young to drive a car on the streets of Stevenage. Still, when that day came, someone would have to take on the task of getting him through his driving test. And the man who stepped up to the plate? Stevenage driving instructor, Steve Siddell.
Hello, Rebecca. Lovely to meet you. We're going to do the Lewis Hamilton circuit, yeah? Let's go. Wicked. Oh gosh, I'm dreadful at this. Just dreadful. Oh, let me get my seatbelt on. La la la. Okay. Yes, thank you.
and in reverse, and brake, and... So, tell me how you know Lewis.
Well, I first heard from Lewis when he called me, and that was on the 13th of April.
I should indicate tonight.
You certainly should.
He called you on the 13th of April. What year was this?
This was in 2002. He needed the driving lessons so that he could pass his driving tests as soon as he possibly could.
And how many lessons did he have?
Well, he basically had 4 sessions with me and 6 hours behind the wheel.
That's nothing.
Well, that's why he was a talented young man.
What was Lewis like?
You know, he was a very charismatic young man, and at first, when we got in the car, he did drive it a bit fast.
Did he?
I felt that he was going around the corners a little bit fast with me. But then I sat back and thought, hang on a minute, Steve, he's pinning this, he's plumbed it in so quickly, and it's under control. So basically what I've said to Lewis is, remember the rule. On road, into the bend slow, and out of it quickly.
Do you think he's taken that advice into the F1?
On road, I would have said yes, but on the track it's totally different.
Who's the better driver, you or him?
I'd have to say me. I would have to say me.
Really? What do you think he'd say to that?
He'd probably laugh. He'd probably be a lot faster than me.
Yeah.
But on road, I would say I'd be the better driver in the respect of knowing all the things that you should and shouldn't do on the road.
Well, you go by the rules, and
I go by the rules strictly.
Renegade.
Absolutely. At the end of the road, Rebecca, turn right, please.
Do you genuinely think that we wouldn't have Lewis Hamilton today without you?
Well, I can only say that I helped him on his journey to be a world champion.
Do you think he'd remember you?
I hope he does, because it's only 5 years ago, and if I get pupils that ring me up over 20 years ago and can remember me, I can't see or understand if Lewis can't remember me now.
Why don't you get in touch?
Well, because I'd feel that I'd be pushy, and you know, he's probably
touch him up for some tickets, maybe.
Well, I'm hoping, because obviously all this has gone out to the media now, that maybe Lewis may reflect on it and say, "Blimmin' hell, I remember Steve. Yes, I'll give him a free ticket."
In 2002, Lewis Hamilton made the transition from karts to cars. It's a class of racing called Formula Renault, and it's the first big step on the road to his dream of one day becoming a Formula One driver. Here, he's nearly 17, and he's preparing for his first ever competitive car race.
Fantastic, the adrenaline, just the buzz, compared to karts. I mean, the karts are quick, they were reasonably quick, the ones I raced. But now, I mean, the cars are just, it's so quick, and you have the gears also, so it's just fantastic. It's just the adrenaline that gets going, it's just unbelievable.
But Lewis proved that he was an absolute natural. He soon won the championship in Formula Renault and made a smooth transition into the next level of racing, known as Formula 3. He's the silver car with the trademark yellow helmet. Here, the drivers are now just 2 levels away from the big time of Formula 1. It's a bear pit full of young, ambitious drivers desperate to impress the F1 team managers. And as the driving got more dangerous, the new Wonder Kids sailed through the series to become champion driver in just 2 spectacular seasons. Lewis then moved up to GP2, the penultimate racing series on the road to F1.
Like every other class of motor racing, Lewis Hamilton sailed through the ranks of GP2 and was named Rookie of the Year at the annual Autosport Awards. It was the culmination of years of hard work, sheer persistence and stunning driving.
And it would take him one step closer to his all-time F1 hero, as he told Trevor Nelson on his TV show in 2003.
Ayrton Senna was the man.
The fearless Ayrton Senna.
Still the man today.
fact it cost him his life, and he's your hero, doesn't that tell you something?
I think if you, for me, that's what I want to do really. If I'm going to die, that's what I want to die racing.
In January this year, McLaren unveiled their new Formula One car and introduced their all-new team in a dazzling firework and circus spectacular in Valencia. Lewis Hamilton was about to realise his dream and be welcomed into the crazy world of Formula One.
Some extraordinary things happen. There's some extreme characters there. It's a very intense world, often described as a circus. It's a lot of extremely competitive people in an extremely competitive environment. All the newspapers are full of Formula One again. Everyone's talking about it down the pub and in the supermarket. And Formula One is sexy again. And he's what a modern day top sportsman should be all about, and hallelujah that he chose motor racing and not some other sport.
Lewis is of mixed race. That makes him seem more of a kind of modern person, to me anyway, than to most racing drivers who are sort of monocultural in a world that is changing very fast. And somehow Lewis seems to tap into that, and in that respect Formula One's very lucky to have him.
It's so different to what I'm used to. Before I was just a driver, but now it seems to change absolutely everything, and it's just an unreal feeling. It's my dream come true, basically.
So Lewis burst onto the F1 scene and made an incredible start to the season. He set a record by making it onto the podium in his first 9 races. But what is it about his driving style that makes him just so good?
Coming down the straight, coming in, out of the slipstream.
Radio 1 DJ, TV presenter and petrolhead Colin Murray gave me some insight into how the new kid on the block has been getting his nose in front.
I think the most underrated thing about Hamilton this season is how long he's been able to stave off better cars. He's an incredibly intelligent defensive driver, especially going into corners after long straights is fantastic. He's great at knowing how to close the door and drivers trying to overtake him. You know, for me that's just as exciting to watch him as a defensive driver.
People talk about him being good at underbraking.
Let's say you're coming up a straight. The Renault here is got the racing line, but it's Hamilton who has the slipstream, and when he comes out of it he will jolt forward, but he can't brake at the same time as the Renault. He'll hold off, he'll underbrake, therefore a very risky manoeuvre. If he brakes too late he's going to go careering into the wall. Instead, the Renault cross, you've taken your position, off you go. That's phenomenal the way he does that.
Without doubt, the Don of motorsport is former commentator Murray Walker. So how highly does he rate Lewis's driving?
As a driver, Lewis Hamilton, at this stage of his career, is more impressive than anyone I have ever seen, and I've seen them all. No one has done as much as he has done, as quickly as he has done it, as impressively as he has done it, and as comprehensively as he has done it.
Lewis Hamilton, who has come in and completely rewritten history books in his first season, and he's not going to get worse, he's only going to get better. Lewis Hamilton is forcing the other 3 top drivers and everybody else in the paddock to reevaluate their approach to their driving and to their job. And who'd have thought?
I've been told that Formula One drivers need the strength of a boxer, the reactions of a fighter pilot, and the stamina of a long-distance runner. In order to get a tiny insight into Lewis's world, I hitched a lift. When you're in a racing car like this, the G-force makes it almost impossible to hold your head up straight. I got up to 145 miles an hour and experienced a G-force of 2.7. That's less than half what Lewis experiences in every race. My body is pressed into my chest! My spleen is in my throat! There I can see, and I don't think it's my leg!
is so fast. I can't. I'm so tired and I've done nothing. It's brilliant.
Lewis Hamilton now seems to have it all. He's charming, beautiful and lovable. And he's got steel and star quality. Trevor Nelson claims those attributes have always been there.
You can tell a winner when you see one, honestly. I've met many successful people, and the one thing they have is drive and focus. And so, be it P. Diddy, be it Lewis Hamilton, it doesn't matter. The guy's come from absolutely nothing to where he is today. People are going to be talking about the figures he earns and all this stuff. The press are going to love it, but trust me, underneath all that is one hungry kid.
Lewis came in at 22 years of age, same age as Muhammad Ali was when he came along and won his first world title against Sonny Liston. And just like Ali, just like Tiger Woods in golf, he has made the big names in the sport challenge him rather than the other way around.
P. Diddy, Pharrell Williams are wanting to come and meet him. David Beckham himself comes down to Silverstone to see Lewis Hamilton, and I'm told actually did manage to get a few words with Lewis as well, which I think is brilliant if he did, because there is no better person to advise Lewis on the pressures of superstardom than someone like David Beckham, who's had to live with it for many years now.
What Lewis Hamilton done is, inside 8 months, has absolutely been a magnet for everybody. And I'm talking of all ages, I'm talking about both sexes, I'm talking about young and old. He has pulled them together. Everybody's talking about Lewis Hamilton. Everyone wants to talk to me about Lewis Hamilton. I want to talk to them about Lewis Hamilton. And if he should, come October, win that world title, we might be in line for Lewis Hamilton Day within our community.
He knew he was going to have to face the barrage of the media. He knew he'd have the world's television crews crawling all over him. He finds it quite entertaining at the moment. It's all quite new to him, I suppose. It's a very intense life, but you know, he's been looking forward to it forever. And as I say, you know, he regards what he has as a gift, and all of those other things, they're things that come with it. And so he does it all with a good grace, and I really can't see any reason why it should change.
I think at Silverstone, Lewis realised just how big he'd become and just how popular he was. And I think on the grid, when he realised that all the fans, well, the majority of the fans were there to see him, and that David and Victoria Beckham had come down as well, and I hadn't seen them at a Formula One race before.
So you don't think it will eventually get to him, because it's going to be he's going to become the next Beckham in terms of Paps and stuff, isn't
He could become the next Beckham in terms of Paps, but I'd put my house on it that he'll handle it fairly well. I'll put my house on it as well that he's going to become a champion.
He's a rookie in Formula One. He's finished on the podium 9 consecutive times. No one has ever done that in their first season in the sport. He had the best start to a Formula One career in terms of his first race, third place finish, of a British driver for 40 odd years.
He's got one goal in mind, and it's not about bedding the hottest blonde chick out there. It's about winning the championship, not once, not twice, outdoing it in Senna, and even outdoing Schumacher. I guarantee that's what he's thinking.
So he's already a star. He's breaking racing records, and that means he's going to break other records too. Because Lewis Hamilton isn't just a man anymore, he's a brand. What do you think brand Hamilton will be worth?
Do you know, at one time Lewis came round my office. When he left my office, I said to somebody, I remember saying to my PA the next day, I tell you, that boy is going to go places. I feel like giving up my career and phoning his dad up saying, do you need a co-manager? Because I knew he was going to be worth absolute zillions. He's, if he continues for at least 3 years, I'd say, and this isn't a flash in the pan season, I don't think you could write the figures he could earn. He'd definitely be the highest paid sports star this country has ever known.
You strike the right chord in me.
Lewis Hamilton is fast becoming a marketing man's dream. He's got all the attributes that marketing people look for. He's young, he's good looking, he's new into the sport, he's highly successful, and a very personable person. So those sorts of attributes really make him very attractive to marketeers who've got brands to promote.
Formula One is pretty much a global sport. Its reach is fantastic. India, China, Russia, it's just going to get bigger in those places. And if he becomes the face of this growing sport in these new markets, as they say, markets that have yet to mature, who knows where it could end in financial terms for him.
How much do you think Brand Hamilton could be worth in the future?
The guru of agents in Formula One, the smartest of the lot, is a chap called David Robertson, who is Kimi Raikkonen's manager. He thinks that Lewis Hamilton will be the first £100 million driver. And he doesn't mean £100 million in his career, he means £100 million a year. And then Lewis will really be on the gravy train in a way that we've never seen before.
Who wouldn't want to endorse Lewis Hamilton? Who wouldn't want him to advertise their product right now? He must have every single company lined up saying, please, please choose us, because he's just got that look. He's ambiguous in his look, he's polite, he's clean cut, he's a true sporting hero, he's pretty hip, he likes the right sort of music, he's hanging out with the right stars, girls seem to love him, guys want to be him. Wasn't that Beckham 10 years ago? It's the same thing people are saying about David Beckham. The only difference is David Beckham didn't win the World Cup. Lewis Hamilton will be world champion driver.
It's hard to put actual values on what he'll earn, but I think there's the potential to be the first $1 billion earner that this country's ever produced.
So he's got the looks, he's got the skills, he's got the money. Guess what's next? Ladies, form an orderly queue.
It's only taken half a season for Lewis's love life to be the subject of intense scrutiny by the tabloids. They've already charted the collapse of his relationship to long-term girlfriend Jodie Amar, and now the inevitable paparazzi pictures of him with a string of beautiful women are starting to fill up the papers on a regular basis.
What would it be like for any woman daring to approach that situation, daring to go out with Lewis at the moment?
Probably be quite overwhelming, wouldn't it? But you'd imagine he'd be so kind and gentlemanly and protect you from it all,
You sound quite enamoured.
Yeah, I am. He's my new hero.
What is the deal with women in F1? They seem to, lots of glamazons seem to be walking up and down the pit lane.
You're asking me.
Surely you've had your fair share.
I can only say that Formula One is a fast-moving, colourful, dangerous sport, and that the drivers that inhabit it are by and large young, good-looking, personable. And if that doesn't attract a woman, I don't know what the hell does.
Do you think he could model? He's a really good-looking boy.
Yes. I haven't seen him with his top off yet, so I don't know whether Calvin Klein will be signing him up. Nice pair of tights. Mind boggles. He's gorgeous. He's got that slight sort of gappy smile as well, which makes him more kind of endearing, yeah.
You get these amazing superstars coming along every now and then, and he's definitely one. You've got your Tiger Woods, you had your Schumachers, and he's definitely one of those incredibly talented, guys that just have it, just has it.
With the man of the moment, Lewis Hamilton, you have most certainly arrived, haven't you? Have you had time to enjoy the success yet?
Not really, I think.
And even cool, calm newsreaders like Natasha Kaplinsky get a little hot under the collar when confronted with the man of the moment.
I need a lift back to the BBC. Have you got 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Great.
It's interesting watching him with a barrage of flirt signals coming from Natasha for some reason or other. So in a way this is a different challenge for him. This isn't just an interviewer, this is an attractive interviewer who's flirting with him. You'd think this would reduce him to rubble because industrial strength flirting can often be used as a put down. It can make people feel more submissive, more embarrassed, more compliant. But he handles it quite well.
She is all girly and wide-eyed, isn't she?
Small smile of embarrassment, but I think anybody would. I think probably the whole room is smiling with embarrassment by this stage. He ain't going to flirt back though, and that's quite interesting. And the only signal that we do get from him tends to be a tiny lip poke, so I don't think he's particularly... It's almost like he doesn't want that side of things into his repertoire. It's a bit too fun and superficial. He really wants to talk about his cars, not think about the women.
Lewis Hamilton seems to be just about everyone's favourite racing driver at the moment. But one man who might be described as sick of the sight of him is McLaren teammate Fernando Alonso. Alonso is already two-time world champion, and when he signed up with McLaren at the beginning of this season, he would be forgiven for thinking that title number 3 would be a breeze. In fact, it's turned into one of the most compelling sporting battles for years.
Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you.
The Alonso Hamilton story is the subplot, isn't it, the Formula 1 season? I think it's beautiful. I don't think Fernando Alonso could vouch for what Lewis Hamilton was going to bring to the party. I've seen Alonso's driving over the last few months, and some of it has been erratic, and I say Hamilton factor. Lewis Hamilton has got into the head of Fernando Alonso, but he needs to understand Lewis Hamilton is here to stay.
Sooner or later, I'm greater than you.
Alonso. Hamilton. To have some young upstart who's never been in Formula 1 come into the team and, I won't say blow him away, but show that he's just as fast, just as determined, just as unlikely to get into a flap about anything, and to be able to beat him is very, very unsettling indeed, and it's never happened to Alonso before. He's always comprehensively beaten his teammate.
Faster than you. No, you can't. Yes, I can. No, you can't. Yes, I can. No, you can't. Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
I think what Alonso underestimated was Lewis's sense of purpose. Lewis is in Formula 1 for a reason. He's not there to make up the numbers. He's there to win. And every time he looks at his brother, Nicholas, fantastic kid, amazing spirit, he says to himself, I've been given a gift. And he does regard it as a gift from God. I've been given a gift, and I must make the most of it, and I must capitalise on it. And so he's arrived in Formula 1 with such an enormous amount of energy and such an extraordinary sense of purpose. And that's the thing that Alonso just didn't know about, I don't think. I don't think he expected it. He just thought, here comes another quick racing driver. I'll deal with him. But he's had to deal with more than just a racing driver. He's had to deal with his whole sense of purpose.
It's not just Fernando Alonso who is now well aware of the Lewis Hamilton factor. Big-time celebs are flocking to meet the new star too. He was guest of honour at a recent charity event, and they were out in force. Just wanted to ask you what you think about Lewis Hamilton and all the buzz that's going on about him.
I mean, I've never met him, but what I've read and what I've seen in the press, it looks like he's a young gentleman with his head properly screwed on. I think with the dedication that his family, or his dad in particular, have shown commitment to the cause, I don't think he'll mess it up, because I think there's too much at stake.
How do you feel about Lewis Hamilton?
What happened to him?
What impact do you think he's having on F1 at the moment?
Who?
Lewis Hamilton!
Magic.
Do you think,
magic.
Do you think he'll go all the way?
You should ask him.
I almost feel like he's my own, without sounding too condescending, but he's my own child. Honestly, I feel so passionate about his story, his progression, and the impact he's made on Formula 1. It's just so inspirational.
Lewis, BBC!
And when the guest of honour finally arrived, the paparazzi went wild, and it all seemed a million miles from the back streets of Stevenage. Lewis Hamilton now looks every inch the cool, calm and collected superstar. But Lewis has never forgotten his roots. He's now given his name to a special award in the karting world's Stars of Tomorrow Championship. The Lewis Hamilton Award isn't given to the winner, But in keeping with his own courageous driving style, it goes to the youngster who overtakes the most.
There's a handsome trophy, a handshake, and maybe the chance to get one Genesis roll over at the same time. And Roy Johnson, you come forward as well. And, terrific 1, 2, 3. And it's Alex Albon, our race winner. It is. My words just turned down.
And it was here, away from the glitz and the glamour of the Grand Prix circuit, that I finally got the opportunity to have a few words with our newest star.
Lewis, Becca Wilcox, BBC Three. Just want to know what's changed for you since becoming an F1 driver.
Well, on the race weekend, you know, you come there and there's so much attention. I think it's just the attention you get even outside the racing world. You know, when I'm at home, you lose a bit of your privacy, you know, all of your privacy almost. And so it's really hard to, because I'm just as normal as all of you here. And, you know, my life hasn't really changed, or my perspective on life hasn't really changed. But, you know, I struggle to go to places without being noticed. And, but now, you know, we'll see in the Formula 1 car, I'm living my dream, so I'm on a high the whole time and buzzing.
Wish you all the best.
So there he goes. It's been an incredible journey so far. Who knows where it will end?
He's been a breath of fresh air. I think after the first race in Australia, Stirling Moss said he's the best thing that's happened to Formula 1 since the 1950s. You know, the whole time he's been around. And that he said that after one race, and you thought, well, steady on, Stirling. And you thought, actually, you know, as the season's gone on, that's absolutely summed it up. He is the best thing that's happened to Formula 1 for years.
I think we got a new kid on the block in terms of Lewis Hamilton, and I think we attached the word great to too many sports people too early. I don't think we've done that now.
I think he's going to be a British Schumacher, I think.
That's huge.
Yeah, I definitely think so. He's going to be the best British racing driver ever.
People are saying he could be the next Beckham, the next Schumacher.
I think he's going to be the next Hamilton. And that's going to be huge.
Get a roundup of every Formula 1 race, the weekend's news, action and reaction with 5 Live's Checkered Flag podcast, bbc.co.uk/podcast. And next on BBC 3, it's the most annoying TV moments we hate to love.